welcome to my channel. I'm Blushing Rose Tarot. Christina here. Today is my birthday. Happy birthday to me! And I'm feeling just really grateful and so loved and really inspired. Inspired by just life right now and this journey that I'm on and my tarot channel and having a space to really talk about these things that was missing for me. So I decided that I'm going to bring you along this journey and what I'm going to call my tarot study series. So this is episode 1, and we're going to go over my tarot journal and why I use it, why it's so important, and how I think it really is helping me in this journey. So I'm just going to dive right in. I think the most important thing for me has been to realize how I learn and what works best for me. In different subjects, I learn different ways. Certain things I just need to read it or hear it. But when it comes to something spiritual or things like that, I need to be able to, I'm very academic as well as very visual in that respect. And so I've created my journal that kind of speaks to both of those things. I'm really creative. I used to do painting and stuff like that. I haven't in a while, but I'm super crafty. And in my earlier years, I wanted to be a graphic designer. So all of those things may make sense when you see my journal or see other things on my channel. Just a little bit about me. So I think the first step is to know how you learn and what works best for you. I'm very visual. The next thing, let's look at the supplies I have. And these are the supplies that I use for me in this process. Of course, a journal. This journal is a Law of Attraction journal. I just love the way that it looks. I love the feel. I love the layout inside. Before I get into like what it actually looks like when I DIY it, I love the fact that it has these little boxes at the top because that's where I'm going to put my images. And then I split this up. I'll go into that later, but I love the layout of this one. So I found a journal that really spoke to my process. Then, of course, I have a deck. This one here is my little travel deck. It is the Wandering Traveler Tarot deck created by the Bohemian Tarot Girl. I got this on Etsy. So for today, I'm just going to use this one just to show you some things. I use tape. This tape here I got from Amazon, and I use this to put my images in the journal. Another thing is, okay, don't laugh, you guys, but I've already given you my disclaimer. I'm an artist, and I'm also like, I don't know, I just have isms. But here's washi tape. I color code them. I have like about 4 of these. This one here, and they're color coded. So this is all my blues and greens. I have one that's got pinks because I love pink, so that one is in itself. So anyway, I use washi tape for it. I actually use highlighters as well. And here's the part you may actually laugh at too. I use a ruler. I really don't like when writing just goes all over the page in free format and things like that for certain things. So I use my ruler to line up my writing. I know that's probably super whatevs, but it's my process. It works for me. And then I actually have a travel bag as well. Oh, I DIY'd this ruler here with my Erin Condren stuff. Erin Condren, super fan. And that's where I got this bag too, years ago. So this is my travel case. This supports my tarot journal and looking at a daily card. So I should have backed up. My tarot journal is for my daily card pool, and I look at it daily. So that's the purpose of this journal. But this bag here comes with me. It has a book that is a journal, not a journal, I'm sorry, a guidebook that has so much information in it. This is from one of my decks, Lucid Dreams. This is the Eclipse version. But what I've done is I've actually this is regular paper and then washi tape. This is an image that I printed years ago and laminated it and put it on here. And then I've, of course, DIY'd the back with stickers. But this is my primary book that I take with me because this book has everything in it. I love the esoteric part of tarot as well as tarot. Like, I've DIY'd it. And this book has so much in it. It has the cards, of course. It has the moon, all the planets. It has the numerology in it. It goes into the card, everything. It has so much stuff in here. And I find that, for example, when I'm looking at a card, let's say I pulled the Hangman for the day, just even at the top, it lets me know like if it's a sign or if there's a zodiac with it, the element is water, the planet is Neptune. And if I want to learn more about those elements or that planet and how it can impact the card, that is also in here as well. So this is my primary book that I take with me. And yeah, the other thing that I have in here too is I'll have a standard Rider-Waite guidebook and or a guidebook that may be specific to the deck that I'm using for that particular period of time. So this can get changed out, but the standard one for me is always my guidebook here. And this again is from Lucid Dreams, created by 𝚃𝙁. The deck is Lucid Dreams. This is who's the creator. So yeah, I have that in there. The only other thing that I have in here, oh, I put my little travel deck with me, little bitty one. I love this one. So that is the supplies. Now I want to go into choosing a deck for the month and when I pull them out, or choosing decks for the month. So I actually have I'm very grateful that I have quite a few decks, and I don't want them to just sit there and collect dust and have this collection that I never look at, don't connect with, don't use. My energy's not in it at all. And I wanted to have a way where I'm learning to look at different kinds of cards matched up with my guidebook, which is the standard interpretation of the card, and use my collection. So I make sure that I rotate out my decks, and this journal is wonderful because, well, I can do that. And specifically, this journal, actually, let me pause a little bit. This one is the Law of Attraction journal. It has so many different things in here. It's really geared for manifestation and the law of attraction. It has all these other things in here as well. I'm not going to show you too much. Make sure I can show you. Oh yeah, I have a vision board that I've created on, I forgot what these papers are for, but I used it for my vision board that I pull out. So it has that in there. It's got lots of different things in here. So this is the journal that I chose based on the way that I learned. So let me back up. Another thing in choosing is, of course, I'm sorry, my brain's going everywhere. I'm so excited that I might jump across here, but this part here, I rarely ever do things like table of contents. It feels so rigid and structured, but for me, it actually works in this case because I'm able to keep track of the decks that I've used and what pages they're on. And this is helpful because as I'm learning these decks and learning tarot, I can go back and go, oh, okay, so I was using This Might Hurt, and take a look at, well, what was my interpretation of that card back then? So this is why I think this is really helpful. And it also lets me know the decks that I've used. So when it comes to choosing a deck for the month, I really just go based on what I haven't used so far and I'm really interested in getting to know more. Sometimes it's the energy that I'm feeling, like say for example, springtime. Actually, it's funny, I'm going to say this now and then you'll see the spring, but I want something that may be lighter or really artistic or more minimal. So it just is kind of the energy that I may be in when I'm choosing those decks or when I'm thinking ahead. So that's just kind of variable for me. Now, when I pull them out, I've done it where I've been in the week, like say this week, and have pulled nothing for the next 2 weeks, and then I'll pull the few days before. What I did this time though is I had really good energy and I was feeling really good and focused, and it was close enough. And so then I pulled the cards for the month of March, the month that we're in right now. Did them all at the same time, chose 2 decks and pulled them all out. So I did that all at once. There's no real rhyme or reason. I try not to go more than 4 weeks out at a time because the energy is so flexible and it changes, of course. So I rarely ever go more than a month out. So 4 weeks, 2 decks. So when it comes to how I choose the deck specifically, I really look for decks that have movement, that have emotion, that have engaging artwork, or something, again, that I haven't used and I want to get to know, or I've used it, but I just want to get to know it a little bit better. Now, the process that I take when it comes to pulling ahead, because I'm really pulling a daily card pull in advance. And so I think it's really important to be grounded when I'm doing that, because I don't want to have the energy of maybe, that day or whatever's happening then impact what I'm pulling. So I really focus. I think it's just a natural practice for probably most people. You just focus and ground yourself. And then I actually will go to the week that I'm pulling for and say, okay, well, I'm pulling the energy for this week, right? Or these 2 weeks. So the way I do is I try to be random, but also very intentional. So the randomness comes in where I'll shuffle a deck, and then I'm looking at this week and the next week for this particular deck so 2 weeks, right? Let's just say they either will jump out, or my style is if I am drawn to a certain couple of cards, I may just pull them out as I see them or what I'm drawn to. So let's just say that these are the cards that I have pulled for 2 weeks, right? That's what's going on there. Then what I'll do is, so these are the cards for, let's say, this week and random other week this week, right? I'll go to the actual week itself with the 14 cards, and then I'll shuffle again. I just shuffled the air. Then I'll shuffle again, and out of the 14 cards, pull 7 for this specific week. So then that way there's a little bit more, there's intentionality, but there's still randomness as to the actual card that I get for that specific week or what have you. So that's how I actually choose the decks, pull the images and things like that. So what is my process? After I've got my cards, and then I know, like, this is week 1, this is week 2, I will just take a picture of each of the cards on my iPhone. Take a picture, crop them, things like that. I've found that because this is a bit restrictive, it's square, I don't always get all of the image in the picture. Sometimes it may just be that much or what have you. But I'll take all the pictures, and then I use my Pages app on my iPad. You can use whatever you want, clearly, but I use a Pages app on my iPad, and then I just put the pictures in there. And then I go to FedEx and print them out. You can change the print paper and all that other stuff. But really, it doesn't cost much. I think every 2 weeks, or for printing for an entire month, it only costs images for an entire month. It only cost me $1.62. See, so it's really not a lot. So yeah, that's the mechanics of it. Now, how do I set up my journal? For me, it's really important that it's very visual and it's creative. Like, that is the best way to keep me engaged. And it's the best way for me to study while I'm looking at art at the same time. So that, because I know it about myself, that's how I do it. So again, it looks like this first before I do anything to it. Then I will print my images out. We can go to this week. Here we are now. This is this week. Then I will print my images out and put them on here. I love color. I love art. So for me, my process of using the daily card pull is to start with my intuition. So I will not even pull out the guidebook. I'll look at the card. Like today is Ace of Pentacles. Truthfully, you guys, I have trouble with the court cards, which I hear is a thing when you're learning. And then also the aces. It's a thing for me. So of course, as I'm doing the video, I'm gonna talk about Ace of Pentacles. I know it's new. I know it's a message. I know that it's one of an earthly nature, so material possessions or maybe an investment of some sort. Something's growing. Looking at this image here, it's an offering. It's really peaceful to me. This here is very calming. It's one that is the beginning of a new venture or something that's fruitful, because I see the green here in this image of mostly browns. For me, trees have a lot to do with ancestors. So like my mom who's passed on and my grandparents, and the number 3 and 4 relate to them. So I see 4 trees. This is a cluster here, and this one's kind of cut off. So that may be something to think about. But for this would be my ancestors offering something to me. And this is, of course, really specific to right now in my life. and the black and white of it it's here. So in essence, what I would do is something very similar to that. Look at the image and what am I intuiting from it? What do I know about the card? How does it fit with the image? And so I'll write that down. And then after that, I will then go into the guidebook. This specific card deck, so this is the 𝙻𝙴𝚃'𝚂 Tarot. So this specific card deck actually has quotes on it, on the cards. As you can see, it was cut off. So I just put the quotes here. And this is why I love the specific guidebook, the Saint Soleil one, because for this particular card, looking at other things, it's related to Taurus, so the energy of Taurus and the energy of Virgo, and then it's Capricorn and Earth. So sorry, actually aces have all the Earth energy, so Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, and it's just related to Earth. There's no planet association with this. So I would write that at the top for each of them. For a guidebook that doesn't have that already, it just really looks like this, because there's nothing that came with it. And then I would write the guidebook interpretation and then think about that and meditate on that. Another thing that's really important for me is that looking at this, I will put the deck. So what deck am I working with, or what deck is this? Because some of the things get cut off and you wouldn't always know. I think I'm really, I'm diving into esoteric things with it. So like, yesterday was a full moon. Today, it's my birthday. So I put my birthday on there. And then over here, just things that I really want to focus on. I always put the daily card pull and reflection because I'm very proud of myself. I actually, fun fact, have only been diving into tarot for, I think it's 8 months now. I really started in August, and I've done this every day since then, and I'm very proud of myself. If you know me, you'll know that like working on patience and discipline to do something every single day is a thing. So I'm very proud of that, and that's why I put this here, because it reminds me every day you do this. Then just other things I want to focus on, like meditation, tarot journal study and research, being present. I think it's also important to do full readings. So do 2 to 4 journal readings. I have an app that I use for that I'll go into later, and just other things I want to be mindful of, like slow and steady morning practice. So that's what this sidebar is for here. Here's where here's where the highlighters come in, because I love color. Like this is pink and blue. This one here is blue and purple, things like that. Actually, this is a good one to talk a little bit more about. So that's the images, how I go into looking at each card, the deck, what I may be focused on. So what I use down here is I really want to get into learning. Well, not I want to, I'm starting to really get into more about how the cards tell a story together and not just individually. And what I've been really wanting to do, and I say wanting to because I'm actually not as consistent on this part, is do a recap. So what do I see in the cards? How do I match it up with maybe what was going on for me in the week? Sometimes the cards, just the story of the week. Sometimes it's a very personal thing about events that have happened. So I like to use this part here for like a recap. This side over here, these were already pre-written. They're based on the theme of this journal. But this one I'll do other things that may be interesting to me, like what is a new moon ritual? I'm learning about that. I think new moon intentions. Here's a couple of readings, 3-card readings. So these are just really basically notes that I use on this side here. So that's the general outline of how I set this journal up. I wait until I get, here's the piece of me that's just, I'll just call it an ism. I wait until I have like the cards actually, so here's 2 weeks for the Pulp Tarot. So I'll put the cards out first, and then I go in and I'm laughing at myself, but then I'll go in and go, okay, well, what highlighters, what colors work with this? And then what color washi kind of brings it all together based on like the energy of that deck. It's like, this is a bit more graphic, primary colors. This one's nice and soft, and what is there another one? This one's very vibrant but very cool. Yeah, things like that. I was studying the Emperor there. But that's the thing for me. I have to learn that one. So that's what the that's what the journal looks like and how I work with it in general. The way that I use, let me make sure there's nothing personal here first. The way that I use the month is I will just write, I'm kind of covering a little bit because there's some stuff in here I don't want people to see. But the way that I use this is if there was something specific that happened on that day, I will write that on there because I sometimes will tie it specifically to the energy of that card. But that is how I use the monthly. I don't always have the images just open like this. Sometimes I do. Sometimes it looks more like this, where I have, it's like, for example, this, I have these little post-its that will cover the image itself. Of course, for this one, because the title of the card was cut off, I wrote it there. But that doesn't do as much as me looking at the images. I really get the information from there because each card is different, each deck is different. So oftentimes there'll be post-its. Like, for example, these are the week from April 7th through 13th and 14th through 20th. So I'll put the images down and then I'll put little post-its on there so I can't see too far ahead or I'm not just getting distracted. But that's how I use the post-its. Now the notes. This journal I really love. It has notes. So here's a thing you can do, like top 10 achievements, reflections, things like that. I haven't really gotten into this just yet. Maybe I will as I move along. Really most are focused on the cards. But this notes and ideas here, where I would love to take this piece and I haven't gotten there just yet, is I really kind of want to look at, like, so for the specific month in question, this is the note pages at the end of that month. I would love to kind of go back and say, were there any stalker cards? Were there any, actually I started to here. I'll show you. I started to on one of these months, but I want to expand it out. So for the month of December, cover some of these things. Let me find. There we go. Sorry, I should have planned ahead, but I didn't. So what I'd love to use the bigger notes pages for is things like this, like tracking, like how many cards were in each suit or element, right? So did I have some, were there mostly cups? Were there mostly wands, pentacles, swords? Did I have mostly court cards? Were there specific large number of numbered cards? Major arcana, did they reappear? How many times did they reappear? As I get further down the line, I think that would be really good for a deeper study into the energies and, be able to reflect back in hindsight at this point. Did I feel that energy? Did I feel like an overabundance of cups or a lot of court cards? Just so that I'm learning more so about like the energy of the cards and the energy of what it's telling me and how it can manifest either in my life or around me, something that I'm observing. So that's really how I look at or where I want to go with the notes. This also kind of really goes more into my daily reflection process. I talked to you guys a little bit about, how I do the intuition part first and then how I do the guidebook. When it comes to time of day and things like that, I'm finding that it's just so fascinating to have this dual thing happening where I'm learning the meanings of the cards, but then I'm also opening myself up to the energy of the cards and what that energy is showing me or what that energy is telling me, because it's not always happening to me, right? So I mentioned this in my Let's Be Tarot Friends video, but the way that I look at when I read is very flexible. I've learned that when I do it in the morning, sometimes if I'm grounded, that's like, okay, this may happen. Other times it's more like, oh, okay, well, am I going to see the devil energy today? Or am I going to see temperance? Or am I going to see empress? I find myself almost sort of manifesting that because I'm looking for it, because I see the card and it's either a card I really like or it's a card that gives me a little bit of anxiety because I don't know what that means, right? when I look at the end of the day, I find that then it's a little bit more open for me. Then I can go, oh, okay, so, I had the Four of Cups for, that particular day. If I looked at it in advance, I might be kind of almost manifesting that energy, right? But when I have looked at it at night, right, I've learned that, oh, okay, Four of Cups doesn't always mean this. It can mean that this is how I felt, or this is a piece of that energy that I felt during the day that it's making sure I know about to understand on a different level. Or, oh, this wasn't me at all. This was, my coworker or my daughter or somebody in my life, and I was observing that energy. I find in hindsight when I do it in the evening, like that's really beneficial. Another way I do it is midday. Sometimes it's like, what the heck is happening today? And I'll just peek in and I'm like, oh, okay, it's the high priestess for today. That makes sense. Another thing I do, and this isn't very often, but if I get a card that I don't really understand a lot, but I know enough to know, okay, like for example, the Ten of Swords. If I see, I've of course gotten that. If I see the Ten of Swords, where's one here? Then I'm maybe a little bit anxious, right? It's like, okay, well, what does that mean? Why am I getting the Ten of Swords or Nine of Wands, right? Perfect example, Nine of Wands. Like, why am I getting this? Why is that tomorrow? Then because I've seen it and because I've fixated on it, I can't go into it without any knowledge, right? If I'm looking at it a day before. So what I try to do when I see that, if I feel a little bit of anxiety, is I kind of will go, okay, so it's Sunday night. The card for tomorrow is Monday. It's a card that's making me feel anxious or nervous. Let me, as I'm going to sleep, talk to myself like, how can I welcome this energy? How can I welcome what this energy is showing me, either personally or what I'm observing? So it's a way that I can diffuse in my mind what that could mean ahead of time. I don't do that too often, but that is one of the things that I find sometimes if I've looked ahead and I don't have my handy dandy post-its that I will do. And that is my journal. The last thing that I do is I can't show you here because my phone is actually recording it. But the last thing I'll do is I have an app. There's an app that comes with the iPhone. It's the journal app. It is so wonderful. It's perfect because what I'll do is I'll do a spread and I'll take a picture of it, and you can put the picture in this app and you can then write the notes on it. So I'll have the spread, I'll have the deck, the question that I asked, the deck that I used, the cards, and then my thoughts on it. These are intuitive thoughts, my just open thoughts, what may be happening for me, maybe bring in some of the guidebook, and it's beautiful. It's a wonderful digital diary that goes with me everywhere. And I believe that's all. I don't know how long I've been talking at all. I just am so excited. I love talking about these things. And I'd love to know your thoughts. Do you have any process like this that you use? Do you have a journal, something like this? Do you have ideas? Other ways you might do something? I'm really curious to know, and I would really love to know your thoughts and talk to you guys in the comments. So thank you for spending some time with me today. Really excited to get to know all of you and share my thoughts on this journey. Have a good day. Thank you guys. I'll have to do the wiggly fingers thing. Bye.